One went 12-1. And the other 11-1. But only one shall rise. Only one can be called champion. Tigers versus Tide. Battle in the Bayou. Presented by Conway Medical Center and Elliott Realty.
Hello, one and all, and welcome to New Orleans, site of the 2017 Sugar Bowl. This is Battle on the Bayou, our pregame show leading up to Monday's big matchup between Alabama and Clemson. It's round 3 between these two programs. This time, it's in the Superdome. Our own Mark Hager joins us now with a look back on how the Tigers reached the Big Easy.
The Clemson Tigers opened the season at home with an impressive performance against the Kent State Golden Flashes. Clemson quarterback Kelly Bryant finished the day by throwing one touchdown pass, a 61-yard strike to Deon King, and Bryant ran for another score. The Tigers rolled up 665 total yards, 5th most in school history. Clemson beat Kent State 56-3 to begin the season. Clemson moved to number 3 in the country and took on the 13th-ranked Auburn Tigers in Game 2 on their schedule. Clemson's defense led the way by sacking Auburn's quarterback a whopping 11 times in front of the Tigers' Death Valley home crowd. Bryant led the offensive charge, scoring on a 3-yard touchdown run. Clemson led 7-6 at halftime, and that would prove to be enough. But just for good measure, Bryant added a 27-yard scoring run early in the third quarter. Clemson moved to 2-0 on the season with a 14-6 win over the Auburn Tigers. Clemson hit the road to open ACC play with a game at 14th-ranked Louisville. 6 different Tigers scored against the Cardinals in an impressive offensive showing. Bryant passed for a career-high 316 yards and 2 touchdowns in this one at Papa John Stadium. Bryant threw this 79-yard TD pass to Ray McLeod. The Tigers were too much for Heisman Trophy winner Lamar Jackson and the Cards. Dorian O'Daniel opened the second half, returning this interception 44 yards for his first college touchdown. 47-21. Clemson moved to 13-0 on the season. Game 4. Back at the Valley for Clemson facing conference foe Boston College. Clemson up to number 2 in the rankings. They had to pull away late to win this one. 4 fourth-quarter touchdowns with Bryant rushing for over 100 yards and 2 scores. Travis Etienne electrified the crowd, scoring on this 50-yard run. The Tigers with a 34-7 win over the Boston College Eagles. Game 5 took the Tigers to Blacksburg, Virginia to take on the 12th-ranked Virginia Tech Hokies. Tavian Feaster caught a 60-yard touchdown pass to put Clemson up 10-0. It was Feaster's first college touchdown reception. The Tigers' defense was impressive again. O'Daniel scored on a pick 6, and Clemson won its 3rd straight over a ranked opponent. 31-17 over Virginia Tech. The Tigers moved to 5-0 on the year. Game 6, homecoming at Death Valley. Clemson faced a feisty Wake Forest Demon Deacons squad. Bryant led the Tigers to a score on their opening drive, throwing a 28-yard TD pass to King. Adam Choice scored on a short run to give Clemson a 14-0 halftime lead. Clemson scored the first 28 points of this game and went on to beat Wake 28-14. Clemson remains perfect at 6-0 overall, 4-0 in the ACC. Game 7 had Clemson back on the road against the Syracuse Orange at the Carrier Dome. Syracuse was up to the challenge. They hung with the Tigers throughout, and in the fourth quarter, Cole Murphy booted a 30-yard field goal to break a 24-all tie. Syracuse pulled off a shocking upset, 27-24 over Clemson. The Tigers fell to 6-1 on the season. Clemson had a bye week before returning to action at home against the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets for Game 8. Bryant was sharp, throwing 2 TD passes. It was the Tigers' 300th all-time win at Death Valley. 24-10 the final. Clemson beat Georgia Tech to move to 7-1 on the year. Game 9 on the schedule took the Tigers to Raleigh to meet the North Carolina State Wolfpack. This one turned into a shootout. As time expired in the third quarter, Feaster broke loose on an 89-yard touchdown run. And then, late in the game, Clemson's defense held with an interception to preserve a 38-31 win over NC State. Clemson survived against the 20th-ranked Wolfpack and improved their record to 8-1. On to Game 10. Clemson, ranked number 4 at the time, hosted the Florida State Seminoles. Bryant gave Clemson an early lead on a short touchdown run. And later, Etienne found the end zone and Clemson would take a 17-0 halftime lead. Clemson beats Florida State 31-14. The Tigers clinched a berth in the ACC championship game with the victory. Game 11 was against the Citadel Bulldogs. Clemson had little trouble scoring points. Bryant hits Kane on a 53-yard strike, and the route was on. Bryant later found former Socastee High star Hunter Renfrow on a 12-yard score to give the Tigers a 21-0 lead. Clemson went on to beat the Citadel 61-3, improving to 10-1, setting the stage for a showdown against their arch rival. Game 12 had Clemson paying a visit to Williams-Brice Stadium to take on the South Carolina Gamecocks. Renfrow with another solid performance. He caught 4 passes. 2 of them went for touchdowns. Clemson scored the first 34 points of the game and beat the Gamecocks 34-10. It was Clemson's 4th straight win over South Carolina in the Palmetto Bowl and the 100th career victory for head coach Dabo Swinney. Clemson ended the regular season with an 11-1 record. Then it was off to Charlotte and the ACC championship game. Clemson facing the Miami Hurricanes. Clemson got out to a 21-0 lead with Bryant leading the way again with one of those first 3 touchdowns, and kicker Alex Spence out of West Florence High, booting this 46-yard field goal to extend the Tigers' lead to 24-0. Clemson left no doubt in this one, a 38-3 win over 7th-ranked Miami. Clemson's 3rd straight ACC championship and 17th all-time for the Tigers. Clemson improved to 12-1 overall, locking up a spot in the college football playoffs and a date with Alabama in the national semifinals.
These guys were at the doorstep tonight, but they busted through it. They didn't flinch at all. They embraced the moment and dominated the moment.
We still had a little bit more things we need to work on, just fundamental-wise. By the end of the day, I felt like we had a great performance, but we're going to watch the film and see how better we can get from here.
Just to be in this position, coming in as a freshman, to be able to go and win a 4th one next year is just something a lot of people can't say they have the opportunity to do.
Every day was a game day. We didn't take any reps off, any day off. We just fought and fought.
Can't even describe the feeling right now. It's amazing. It's an unreal feeling.
We're the attacking champs. You know, we're attacking for another one. That's been our mindset all year. You know, we're not defending anything. You know, like I said earlier in the year, if we had the same team back, but we got a different team.
Well, thanks, Mark. Yet another stellar season for Clemson. Just 1 blemish on their record. And, of course, if Kelly Bryant hadn't gone down in that game against the Orangemen, they might be perfect. Nevertheless, though, they are ACC champs yet again and back in the college football playoff for a 3rd consecutive year. Earlier this week, the 2 teams arrived here on the outskirts of New Orleans in preparation for Monday's big game. And, of course, it was another fan fest when these 2 landed at the airport. Under cloudy skies, the ACC champs arrived in New Orleans Wednesday in preparation for Monday's Sugar Bowl.
Really excited about being here. Really appreciate all the All-State Sugar Bowl folks for hosting this, and I know there's a ton of work that goes in to make an event like this special for everyone involved.
This just the 2nd time in program history Clemson has played in the Sugar Bowl. The first, a loss to LSU back in January of 1959.
59 years since Clemson's been to the Sugar Bowl, and to have an opportunity to be here and represent Clemson, and Dan and President Clements and our administration, all of our fans, is just a great pleasure.
The Tigers and Tide meeting for the third consecutive year. The difference this season, they meet in the semifinals rather than the national championship, but another game that's big, just like the previous two.
We're excited to be here and look forward to participating in a great week, and know it'll be an unbelievable game on the first against Alabama.
Earlier in the day, it was Alabama touching down on the outskirts of New Orleans. The Tide making yet another appearance in the Sugar Bowl, the first since 2015.
Special thanks to the All-State Sugar Bowl, all the people that are associated with the Sugar Bowl, the city of New Orleans. The hospitality here has always been outstanding.
After losing to Clemson last season, the trip to Louisiana has become a business trip. Not so much one that doesn't focus on New Year's Day.
This team has an opportunity to try to finish this season a little better than what we did the last.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Mark Haggard sits down with the Renfrow family and also the Spence family. We'll have their stories coming up when the Battle on the Bayou pregame show rolls on from New Orleans. Welcome back, folks, as we continue to roll on here in New Orleans. The Battle on the Bayou pregame show continues as we take a look now at the Renfrow family. Our own Mark Haggard has more on Hunter, Cole, and the gang from Socastee.
Meet the Renfrow family. Tim and Suzanne Renfrow have 6 children. 2 of them play for the defending national champion Clemson Tigers.
Just my little brother, and we really had a lot of games out in the backyard. Just played a lot of wiffle ball, played a lot of basketball, played tag football with the neighbors. So really that's where it began, and that's where we kind of played for our first time together.
Hunter Renfrow became a legend at Clemson. Last season he caught 2 touchdown passes in a win over Alabama in the national championship game. The play known as the catch happened with 1 second left on the clock. Quarterback Deshaun Watson threw complete to Renfrow, and the Tigers beat the Crimson Tide 35-31 in a thriller in Tampa, Florida, with brother Cole looking on.
I was excited that Clemson won. It really didn't register that Hunter caught it until like a few minutes after. I was just excited that we won the national championship with 1 second left. And I was laughing because our cousin turned and was like, I don't know how old he is, like 8 maybe. He turned and looked at us and was like, I could have caught that pass. And it was funny. But it was really exciting. And then the fact that it was my brother, the one I grew up with, and played backyard ball and stuff with.
Taught you everything growing up.
Yeah.
You realize more and more as every day passes, it will be something that's remembered forever just because of catching that pass and whoever it was. But so from Hunter's standpoint, it will always be something that will be remembered, and we'll always be Hunter's parents.
We have more people asking if we're, when I'm shopping for Christmas and I'm writing out a check or whatever I'm doing, they see Renfrow and they say, "Do you know Hunter Renfrow?" It's Hunter Renfrow. So we get that a lot that we didn't get before. But besides that, I don't know that it's changed any.
After the catch and going to the White House to meet President Donald Trump with the rest of the Tigers, Hunter remains modest. He's even been kissed on national TV by teammate Christian Wilkins.
Yeah, that was a funny moment. Christian, he always kisses me. He kisses me on the forehead, and if I wipe, he'll give me another one. And so we just have a good time with it.
Hunter is the same young man who won 2 Zoneman trophies at Socastee High as the area's top football player.
I wasn't any good really until probably middle school. And still, even then, I don't think I really played much my 7th grade year. 8th grade year, I started getting a little better, and turned around. And in high school, I had some good years. But yeah, growing up, I really wasn't all that good because I was smaller than everybody, and I tended to get hurt a little more.
An option quarterback in high school, meaning his team ran the ball on nearly every play, Hunter says he became a talented pass catcher because of his mother.
I credit all my receiving abilities to her because she was not the best at throwing the football, and so I'd have to dive here, dive there, catch. And then I had my dad out there, and I was blocking trees in the front yard from the triple option, so that's where I learned how to block and how to catch the football.
Hunter's brother Cole Renfrow is a tight end at Clemson.
I just figured if he could walk on, why couldn't I? And obviously, I mean, it's possible. So I just figured all they can do is say, no, you can't play for the best team in the nation.
But Cole suffered a knee injury during practice and has been sidelined this season.
I tore my ACL earlier in the season, and so I've just been doing rehab and trying to get better for the spring and next season. But basically just being around, being a teammate, being with the guys, and being part of a family.
As for Hunter, he has 4 receiving touchdowns in 2 title matches against Alabama. He says Clemson's approach against Bama this time around is simple.
I thought they were going to cover me a little more last year, but then you have Mike Williams, Artavis Scott, and this year you have Deion Kane and Ray McLeod. So it's going to be interesting to see safety help over the top, what they're going to do. If they want to play 2 guys on me, we get single coverage on the outside. If they want to play man coverage and play safety help, Kelly can run the ball, and we have good running backs who can run it. So I'm as clueless as you are. I'm trying to figure out how they're going to play us, and it'll be a fun one on January 1st.
Clemson needs 2 more wins this season for Hunter to add to his ring collection. He recently won his 3rd ACC title ring, and his most prized possession is last year's national championship ring. But how about one more?
And if he gets one this year, I mean, he'll have 2, but I still have 4 more years, so I might exceed him. So we'll see.
We pray a good bit before each of those games for just God's protection and for not having an injury. But you know, God's in control of all that, and it's something Hunter loves to do. And we don't want him to go out there and play with a timid perspective. He needs to give it his all. He needs to be all in, as Coach Spinney would say. And so, and just trust that, you know, whatever happens, that we'll walk through that with the Lord, you know. And so, do I get anxious a little bit? Absolutely. But does it affect me enjoying the game? No.
And of course, Hunter has been a lethal weapon for the Tigers since he arrived on campus, especially against the Alabama Crimson Tide, the thorn in the side, so to speak, of Nick Saban and Alabama. Well, a pair of brothers in Florence are now putting their stamp on this program. Each has been a vital part to the team's success this season. Mark Haggard sat down with the Spence family to get their thoughts on how their sons are doing at Clemson.
Time now to meet the Spence family from Florence. 2 of the 4 children play for the #1 ranked Clemson Tigers. Austin and Alex Spence are one of 7 sets of brothers on this year's Clemson squad. Austin is Clemson's long snapper on punts. Alex is the Clemson place kicker. Austin accepted a walk-on offer from the Tigers, and the redshirt sophomore has seen plenty of time handling the unsung duties of a long snapper. His journey to Clemson is an incredible story.
I went out to the camp my rising junior year, and they were recruiting Alex, and didn't really need a punter, but you know, the punters came out there and got to punt in front of the coach, but I was the only snapper. It was like 8 punters, so I just kept snapping a ball, give me another one, snap a ball. And all the coaches were sitting there like, hey, this long snapper is doing pretty good. And then they didn't even know at the time I was related to him. And so when I went into Coach Swinney's office with him to get his offer, he was like, wait, y'all are brothers? And so he was like, oh, well, we want you to come up here too. And I was like, yeah, all right.
Alex Spence started his kicking career after watching NFL games on television.
I think probably when I was like 12, I watched like Adam Vinatieri make field goals against the Panthers, and I used to go out in the backyard and just kind of, whenever we played backyard football, I wanted to be the kicker too, because I played soccer, so I knew kind of how to kick, so I would just like stick the ball on the ground and kind of just kick it for fun, and then just kind of fell in love with it, and now it's just kind of taken me all the way through college, and I'm about to graduate, and it's taken me a lot of different places.
Alex Spence was an ABC 15 All-Zone selection while handling the kicking and punting chores for the West Florence Knights back in high school. Now he's in his junior season at Clemson and took over when starting kicker Greg Hugel was lost for the season with a torn ACL.
When I first had to play, or first took over as having to be the starter, I think that's some of the things I thought about. I was like, wow, I'm kicking in an NCAA game, actually playing and everything. But after you do it so many times and after 4 or 5 games, you start to get kind of in a rhythm or get comfortable.
And now the nation's eyes are on Spence every time he lines up for a field goal. Talk about pressure, kicking for the #1 team in the nation.
If I just do the exact same process I did in practice, then you should get similar or the same results in the games, and that's kind of what's kind of helped me overcome from thinking about all the pressure, all the things that could happen, to just kind of going out there and doing what I know I can do in practice and what I do all the time.
It may look easy on television, watching kickers time the snap to the holder's hands and kick the ball through the uprights that are only 18.5 feet wide. So what goes through the mind of Alex Spence as he prepares for a field goal try before tens of thousands of fans?
I think one of the most important parts is making sure that your steps back and across are exactly the same every single time, no matter where the angle is, and making sure you're taking the right angles, because that where you're planting, like where your plant foot lands, is one of the main determinants of if the kick's going to go straight or not. And once you take care of that, your muscle memory from doing it for so long kind of just takes over, and that's pretty much, as long as you're looking at the ball and have a good angle to the ball, then everything else kind of takes care of itself.
Meanwhile, Austin has the thankless job of long snapping. So, how many bad snaps has he had?
0. Not one.
Off the field, there's a video game called Super Smash, and it's a big hit at Clemson.
It's an old Nintendo game that's moved to the GameCube, and now they have a Wii U in the football facility in the players' lounge, and it's like a fighting game where you use a bunch of Nintendo characters like Mario, Bowser, Pokemon characters, and everybody fights each other, and so it's like you can play up to 8 people at one time, and so we'll have like 8 people playing at once, and then people waiting in line to play, like the worst 2 players get sent out.
Whoever dies first,
so we all, that's
first
one of the,
out,
I think that's the most used thing in the players' lounge.
And what about the Spence parents anxiously watching their sons perform for the nation's top team?
You just want them to do well. You know, the whole team, I want everybody to do well, but with your kid, they have one shot to do well. And other kids play different positions. They sometimes mess up, but they get to keep playing. Ours run out there, and 2 or 3 times a game, you better be perfect.
I told him earlier in the season, I tapped him and I said, you realize that every single drive ends with one of our boys completing the drive, either with a punt or with a kick.
As the college football playoff semifinals begin, Alex Spence has a breakdown of the 4-team field.
Honestly, we're the best, and then I think Alabama's the second best out of all 4 teams there, and just kind of unfortunate how their situation played out, but I think it kind of meant to be that we played them and got to rematch them again. But out of the top 4 teams, I think us and Alabama are definitely a step ahead of the other 2 teams, and they'll just kind of play it out to see who we get to play against next. But that's definitely the best 4 teams did make the playoff, though.
Well, what can you say about the Grand Strand and the PD? We have a slew of college athletes all around the area, none bigger than Hunter Renfrow and Austin and Alex Spence. Speaking of a future Tiger and one that has PD ties, it was a big day for Xavier Thomas, formerly of Wilson High, who concluded his senior season at IMG. Mark Haggard was at his signing, which took place on the 20th. Signed, sealed, and delivered is the #1 defensive end in the nation, going to Dabo Swinney and the Tigers.
Clemson had a strong recruiting class, with former Wilson High star Xavier Thomas at the top of their list of recruits. The 6'3", 270-pound Thomas signed with Clemson on his 18th birthday, December 20th, in the Wilson High Auditorium. He is the #1 rated defensive player in the nation and says he was happy to become an official member of the Clemson Tigers.
It's very important to do it here in front of all my family and friends that I grew up with, and it's just been a blessing throughout this journey to have all that support, and just a blessing to come back home and sign in front of my family and friends.
Thomas was an all-zone selection when he played for the Wilson Tigers. He transferred to IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida for his senior season and had an All-American campaign, leading to even more national attention and offers from nearly every top 25 program in the country.
It's been a blessing, and I really appreciate it, but it's really been stress on a young teenager, so I'm glad it's over and I can finally get to the next level.
Thomas is one of 4 players with 5-star ratings in the Clemson 2018 class, along with quarterback Trevor Lawrence, defensive end K.J. Henry, and offensive lineman Jackson Carman. Clemson inked 15 players during the early signing period.
Allows guys to go ahead and check that box and get their eyes focused on what's next and not have to spend January dealing with grown men, still calling them, trying to talk them out of something.
My first order of business, I would say go to the lake with my teammates. I've heard a lot of great things about them diving into the lake and having fun with that, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Thomas is one of 8 Clemson signees who have been selected to play in the U.S. Army All-American Bowl. Thomas will begin his Clemson career when he arrives on campus as an early enrollee next month.
Playoff semifinal week, I'll be in San Antonio at the Army game, and it's about 6 of us Clemson commits there, so it's going to be fun watching the game together.
No doubt Xavier is extremely excited about what lies ahead. This all-zoner will have an opportunity to be a major contributor to the Tigers moving forward, as he will now be at spring practice and gearing up for quite possibly some playing time as a true freshman next fall. All right, folks, time now for another quick break, but we're far from done here in the Big Easy. We'll be right back here on Battle on the Bayou pregame show as we break down the quarterbacks. That's coming up when we return. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Thanks, folks, for staying with us as this is the Battle on the Bayou pregame show here in New Orleans. We're talking now about Clemson and what they've been able to accomplish over the last 5 or 6 years. This team has become a staple in college football, and they themselves, this program, and everyone involved with this university feels this program has become one of the best, if not the best, in the nation, and that's a big reason why they're back in the college football playoff. After winning the national championship last season, not many gave the Tigers a chance to make the playoff in 2017.
Coming into this year, I didn't know if we were going to get quite back to the playoff. I knew we were going to be good, but we don't know anything different.
This is just kind of what we've become used to, and I think there's a lot of confidence with our success that we've had in these big games going back the last few years.
Clemson took the approach as the underdog and put themselves in the conversation after winning 12 games and yet another ACC title.
Not a lot of people, gave this team a chance. So, we took it and ran with it and just, had that mindset, we're coming ready to work.
At this point, the Tigers expect to be here. They've done things the right way, from coaching to playing and everything in between.
Coach Sweeney he kind of keeps us calm and collected too. He just his presence about him, just how when he walks in the room and his smile just kind of makes us all kind of have feel like a sense of relief.
We don't have to go win the national championship this year for me to think anything different about our program. I don't care what happens in the Superdome, good, bad, great, nothing is going to change where we are as a program or where we're going.
This program, not unlike Alabama, will remain a stay in college football for the foreseeable future. After signing yet another quality recruiting class, Clemson has put their mark and sent a signal to all they're here to stay.
It's almost like confirmation. This is what we do. Where you work all year, you take care of business in the ACC, you win the championship, and then for an opportunity to play Alabama. And everybody knows that Alabama has been the standard in all of college football. And if we want to be considered the best, then obviously you got to play the best, you got to beat the best.
There's no doubt that this team will only get bigger, stronger, and better as time goes on. Dabo Swinney has the right coaches in place, and of course, they recruit at a high level. And players, big-time players, are now putting the spotlight on Clemson. They're going to be around for quite some time. Let's talk about the quarterbacks playing on Monday night, shall we? 2 of the best. Kelly Bryant looking for an opportunity to put a show on, so to speak, in front of a national audience. Jalen Hurts, he's been in this position before, looking to get over the hump after falling to Clemson last season. A new opportunity awaits Kelly Bryant, the quarterback preparing for his first opportunity in the college football playoff, ready to put his talents to the test.
It's something that I think every kid, that grows up watching football dream about, being in a position like this, playing a playoff semifinal game against a team like Alabama. So, I'm ready, and I'm just going to try to embrace it, just make the most of this opportunity.
Jeff Scott has seen a vast improvement from Bryant, not just this season, but since he arrived at Clemson.
Whatever we've asked him to do in order to win a game, he's done it. And some games we've thrown it a little bit more. Some games we've asked him to run the ball and do different things, and he's always risen to that challenge.
In comparison, Jalen Hurts has been in this position. He experienced the college football playoff last season. That in itself should give the Alabama quarterback a slight edge.
He's much more experienced, and they're running him a good bit. They'll get him some max protection, take some shots down the field, but he's been very efficient, and that's what they're asking him to do.
As you look at the numbers, both have been productive. Bryant has more passing yards, but Hurts has been more cautious with the pigskin. Just one pick to Bryant's 6.
It's first playoff experience for me, but, I've tried to treat it the same as, I did throughout the course of the season. I've tried not to do anything, out of the ordinary, just continue to prepare, have that same mindset that I've had all throughout the course of the season.
I think it's quite remarkable for him in his first year to play the way that he has and to lead this team.
There's little doubt how Clemson feels about their starting quarterback, but it's another when the opposing team has high praise.
He's a good quarterback. He's a bigger guy. He runs the ball really well. He's almost like a wildcat every single snap, but he could also throw the ball. He makes smart decisions with the football. He has really good athletes on the outside that they could get the ball to.
I think he does a great job just getting outside of the pocket, making his own space, and doing what he has to do to score and lead his offense. Like I said, and he can also make all the throws as well. So having a dual threat guy like that, you have to prepare for. Definitely makes it a little bit more challenging.
The previous 2 years, one of these two has been crowned the national champ. There's no mistaking that this year could be the same, depending on what happens on Monday and who advances to the national championship. Time now for another quick break, but we're far from done here in New Orleans. Don't go anywhere. The Battle on the Bayou pregame show rolls on right after these messages. And welcome back, folks, here to the Battle on the Bayou pregame show. Saturday, well, it was media day at the Superdome. Had a chance to sit down with Scott Eisberg out of our ABC affiliate in Charleston and Jeff Speaker out of our ABC affiliate in Birmingham. Get those two guys together, and we talked Tigers and Tide. All right, gentlemen, it's almost Monday, just a day away. Let's talk a little bit football with regards to this Sugar Bowl. Give me your assessment, Scott, a little bit on Clemson back in the college football playoff and kind of what it means to this program at this point and what Dabo has built over the last, I'd say, 5 or 6 years.
I mean, they're just reloading. That's all they're doing is reloading. To me, I think the most telling thing is that the assistant coaches are all staying. Jeff Scott, Tony Elliott, Brent Venables, they could easily be head coaches right now. Easily. I think they believe in what's happening at Clemson. They're getting paid a lot of money. They're bringing in really good recruits, and they're doing a really good job. And that's just got this train rolling where they're just bringing in, 5-star recruits like it's nothing, and that obviously leads to success on the field.
Is it telling at this point that these two are the top 2 programs in the nation?
Well, I think absolutely. And as we were talking with Dorian O'Daniel the other day at the media briefing, is that here's a chance for Clemson to change the college football narrative. Mm-hmm. You'd think beating Alabama once, would give Clemson a lot of credibility, but they don't feel like they've gotten enough. They feel like they need to beat Alabama 2 years in a row to get people to say, hey, Clemson's here and Alabama's down here.
It's amazing when you look at how recruiting has gone. It's kind of starting to lean more toward Clemson. They signed 3 5-star players, which usually Alabama does. Is that a telling sign that maybe at this point Dabo is outworking Nick a little bit?
Well, I think we've seen Dabo do this for years. I mean, he has always been a tremendous recruiter. Even when he was back at Alabama, he was one of the top recruiters on the staff. So this is just something that's just been building and building. But to Scott's point, this team lost 78% of their offense last year, and they're number 1 in the nation. I think it's just incredible he's been able to sustain this success.
Kelly Bryant's really stepped in, done a fantastic job all things considered, with what he had to do with regards to getting himself prepared to play at this level. Now it's a different story, though. Now you're talking about the college football playoff. Is this kid ready for this spotlight?
I think he is, because he's been around the program and he's been around Deshaun Watson. He learned from Deshaun Watson. He learned from the best. So was Deshaun Watson ready for it when he played in it the first time? Who knows if he was ready for it, but he looked pretty darn good. Kelly Bryant's got all the tools, and he's been doubted all year long. I mean, all year, everyone, coming into the season, who knows if Kelly Bryant's really going to hold that starting position? He was still fighting for it during camp, so I would venture to think that Kelly Bryant will be absolutely fine.
You know, what's amazing to me is when you look at this offensive production from Clemson, they're putting up almost 35 points a game. But when you look at them, there's not a lot of big-name guys like we had last year. You know, obviously you got Hunter Renfrow, Deion Kane stepped up and done some things. But there's been a lot of guys that have really vaulted their play with regards to being productive this season. Is that a testament to the coaching staff and being able to get these guys ready for that?
I think it's a testament to kind of your role guys who are really, really good. Like your big uglies on the O-line. You've got two potential high first-round NFL draft picks right there. I mean, Mitch Hyatt could be a top 5 pick overall. When you've got guys like that who aren't quote-unquote name guys, who are kind of role guys, who are elite at what they do, I think they make your regular running backs and your wide receivers even better than they already are.
And obviously, if you lose the Iron Bowl, that's a huge, huge thing in the state of Alabama. How has this team been able to refocus, regroup, get ready for this? Not necessarily sneak into the playoff, but they're the 4 seed and prepare themselves to play probably the hottest team in college football right now.
Well, it's a second chance. As Nick Saban has said before, don't waste the failure. You know, don't let this Iron Bowl loss, go to waste in terms of a teaching moment, in terms of a lesson. So I think it's really gotten them to refocus and get back to the fundamentals. They spent the first 3 or 4 days of camp just getting back to good old, blocking and tackling and fundamentals. And so, they're going to come out with a mindset that, hey, we got a lot to prove here. We're rejuvenated because we've been given a second chance. Well, let's take advantage of this second chance.
I'm going to put you guys both on the spot. Who wins on Monday and why?
I think Clemson. I do, because they've just been so good of late, and Alabama hasn't. I mean, I watched the Mississippi State game. You watch the Iron Bowl. Alabama just hasn't been overly good, and there's the big thing. There's a difference between rest and rust, and Alabama